Naoya Inoue saves a horrible weekend of boxing and makes it an okay weekend. Because at the end of the day, we thought, after seeing the card in New York, which I was able to cover, and then watching the Canelo card, another snooze fest, I was almost losing hope. And then the top ranked card happened with Inoue, and Inoue went in there, saved us, and much respect to Ramon Cardenas as well, because without him it wouldn't have been the fight it was, because he was able to land that left hand on Inoue. Inoue always has that tendency to open up, with shots down the middle, and specifically with southpaws or someone with a strong left hand, he's been susceptible for that shot. And, he got dropped, and he knows how to come back from that because he's just one of those fighters. After seeing Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Canelo, all of their fights, you could see fighters that weren't that interested. They're getting money, they're making millions, but that's what separates great from good and really good. Naoya Inoue just might be great because of how he responds after getting dropped. He's not afraid to get embarrassed. He's not afraid to open himself up and have a big shot landed on him. Okay, he gets dropped, he gets even better. He gets knocked down, he gets even better because he understands it now. And he's just one of those fighters, as opposed to a lot of people in the sport of boxing now that are just there to get a check, and that's become very apparent. It's unfortunate because in a time where we're supposed to be, taking opportunities that Turkey Al-Sheikh and Riyadh season, those events are supposed to be capitalized on, and instead of that, we're seeing guys like Ryan, guys like Devin not put on the best shows, guys like Canelo, and then Inoue. There's no reason a guy from, a different country comes in here and, rarely fights in the US and takes over the whole weekend. That's almost like unacceptable. And guys like Canelo, guys like Ryan Garcia, guys like Devin Haney, who have all fought in the US for most of their careers, should be ashamed of themselves that a guy from Japan who rarely fights in the US came in there and stole the show for the weekend. And you guys all had opportunities, all had the stage, all had the purses, all had the big money investments from Turkey Al-Sheikh, the salary, the payday, but still, you couldn't show up and put on the performance that Inoue was able to. And that's disappointing for guys like Canelo and guys like Haney and Garcia, but good for Inoue. That's the kind of fighter that you want to respect. You don't want to respect a guy that goes in there, is just getting his money, getting the W, and then getting out of there. Inoue went in there to fight. He went in there clearly to get blood. He wanted to really smoke Cardenas, and Cardenas wanted, to smoke Inoue. He wanted to get back at Inoue. He was able to drop him, but ever since then, Inoue said, I understand it now, I understand what to avoid, and then stepped on the gas. These other guys don't know how to do that. Whenever they get hurt, all they know is, let me try to survive, get through the rest of the fight, and, get the W by any means necessary. Inoue could have got the win and made it a little bit more boring, but he said, let me get this guy out of there in stunning fashion. That's a real fighter. I think we need to start distinguishing boxers from fighters. Devin Haney's a boxer, and Ryan Garcia, he kind of was a fighter, but his last performance was a boxer. And then you have a guy like Inoue. That guy's a fighter. He's not a boxer. That guy's a fighter. So start distinguishing it and, make it, put some respect on Inoue's name. That guy's a fighter. Ryan Garcia, I don't know if you could say he's a fighter. Devin Haney, he's not a fighter. Shakur Stevenson, not a fighter. These guys are boxers. Inoue's a fighter. He wants blood, and you could see that. That's the reason why he was able to save the weekend of boxing, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about what people have to say about him. All he wants to do is prove it to himself, and a lot of these guys have sold out and taken the money from Turkey Al-Sheikh and then ultimately said, all right, I don't really have to put on a performance. They don't feel as motivated. They don't feel that ego because, ultimately all they want to do is try to get the win. And if they can't get it, then it's like, at least I got paid. Inoue's not like that. He doesn't function like that. The greats don't function like that. And that's a message to Canelo Alvarez as well, because even though he was fighting somebody in William Skull that was moving maybe excessively, that's fair. He was running around, but you couldn't put a little bit more of effort into landing combinations, or at least throwing combinations. You throw historically low numbers and have the lowest output we've ever seen from you in a opportunity to, sell that Canelo Crawford fight, I mean, like that was disappointing to see from Canelo, because I feel like he could have done more. He just, you know, did the bare minimum to get the win, in my opinion, and didn't look very good doing it. You have a guy like Inoue who gets dropped, has every reason to, you know, just stay passive and let the fight play out however it was going to play out, but he stepped on the gas and went for the kill. That's the difference between good fighters and great fighters, and Inoue's a great fighter. So for me, Inoue's #1 pound for pound. That's my opinion, but thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys agree, but I'll catch you guys on the next Nabs Boxing video. Peace.